Saturday morning usually started with coffee and the sound of sprinklers from the houses down the street. That day, though, something felt off the moment I opened my door. Taped right in the center was a white envelope with bold, red letters that read, "Notice of Violation." For a second, I thought it was a prank. I'd never been in trouble for anything before. Curiosity won over hesitation. I tore it open and began to read. Your property is not compliant with the neighborhood's HOA regulations. Lawn maintenance and exterior paint must be corrected within 7 days. Failure to comply will result in fines. My eyebrows shot up. Ho? I wasn't in one. My house sat just outside the gates of Oak Ridge Meadows, a neighborhood known for its strict homeowners association and even stricter residents. My property wasn't inside their boundary, not even close. As I looked up, I saw Karen, the self-proclaimed neighborhood queen, walking her little white poodle across the street. She wore oversized sunglasses and carried a clipboard, like she was on a mission from God. When she noticed me, reading the letter, she waved, flashing a smug smile. I crossed the street and asked, "Hey, did you put this on my door?" She tilted her head. "Yes, I did. Your lawn doesn't meet the HOA's aesthetic standards, and that shed of yours isn't on the approved list." I tried not to laugh. "Karen, my property isn't even part of the HOA." She sniffed, clearly offended. The HOA board decided to extend coverage to nearby properties for community uniformity. "You're part of us now." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's not how property law works. You can't just decide who's part of your HOA. Karen's expression tightened. "You'll hear from us again," she said, turning on her heel. Later that afternoon, I called the county office just to be sure. The clerk on the phone chuckled after checking my address. "Sir, you're not under any HOA jurisdiction. She has no authority over your property." I hung up relieved, but the next morning, relief turned into frustration. My yard was covered in bright orange flags marking violations. Someone had also placed a fake HOA inspection notice in my mailbox. That's when it hit me. Karen wasn't bluffing. She'd made me her next project, and I had no idea just how far she was willing to go. The next few days turned into a circus. Every morning, I'd find something new outside my house. Little orange flags, sticky notes on my mailbox, even a printed reminder HOA compliance visit. It was almost comical at first. But when I saw Karen standing across the street with her phone, filming my front yard like she was making a documentary, it stopped being funny. I walked out, coffee in hand. "You know this is harassment, right?" I called out. She didn't even blink. "I'm collecting evidence," she said flatly. "You've been warned. That shed and your mailbox both violate community standards." I took a deep breath. "Karen, one last time, my property isn't in your community. You can't enforce HOA rules here." She smirked, lowering her sunglasses. "That's what you think." Then she walked away, heels clicking dramatically against the sidewalk. Later that afternoon, a certified letter arrived in my mailbox. Inside was an official-looking document from something called the Oak Ridge Neighborhood Compliance Committee. It claimed I owed $350 in fines for lawn overgrowth, unapproved paint colors, and violation of exterior design standards. I couldn't help but laugh. The committee didn't even legally exist for my address. I decided to email the contact listed at the bottom, asking for legal documentation that proved their authority. An hour later, I got a response. It was from Karen. She'd signed it herself as acting HOA president. That was the last straw. I called my lawyer friend Dave, who nearly choked on his drink when I showed him the letter. "This is straight-up impersonation of authority," he said. "She can't issue fines. She can't even step on your property without permission." He advised me to start documenting everything, so I did. I installed 2 security cameras, one facing my yard, another pointing toward the street. I recorded every note, every photo she took, every weird incident. It didn't take long for the next one. A delivery driver parked in front of my house one morning, and Karen stormed out of nowhere yelling at him. "You can't park here. This isn't visitor parking." The poor guy looked terrified. I rushed out and told her to back off. "You don't own this street, Karen." Her cheeks flushed red. "You're making a mockery of this community," she snapped. "We'll handle you soon." That night, I posted the whole story. Pictures, letters, videos, on a local Facebook group. Within hours, it blew up. People shared their own Karen experiences. Some had been threatened with fake fines, too. The HOA board members started commenting, distancing themselves from her. For a moment, I thought it might finally stop. But the next morning, taped to my mailbox was another note in her perfect handwriting. Final warning. HOA meeting scheduled to discuss your violations. The so-called HOA meeting was set for Saturday afternoon at the Oak Ridge Meadows Community Park Pavilion. I wasn't planning to go at first, but the idea of Karen standing there, spouting lies about me was too much to ignore. If she wanted a show, I was going to give her one with receipts. When I arrived, about 15 residents were already seated on folding chairs. At the front stood Karen, armed with her usual clipboard, stacks of papers, and that smug expression that screamed authority. She spotted me and raised an eyebrow. "Well," she said loudly, "look who decided to show up to face the board." I folded my arms. "I'm not here to face anyone. I'm here to clear up your nonsense." She ignored me and turned to the group. "As you all know," she began, "the homeowner at 223 Willow Lane has repeatedly ignored our community guidelines. His lawn, shed, and mailbox all violate HOA standards. We've sent multiple notices, and he continues to defy our rules." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few people nodded. Others looked uncomfortable. I stepped forward. "Let me stop you right there," I said, my voice firm. "My house isn't part of your HOA. It never has been. I have official county documentation proving it." Karen laughed dryly. "He thinks he's exempt just because he lives technically outside the gates." I held up my folder. "Not technically, legally. Here's the map and the property deed, straight from the county assessor's office. My property line ends 40 feet before your HOA boundary." People leaned forward to see. The HOA treasurer, an older man named Mark, stood up to look closer. "Karen," he said slowly, "he's right. His property isn't on our roster." Karen's smile faltered. "That can't be right. We discussed expanding the coverage area last year." "But we never voted on it," Mark interrupted. "You can't enforce HOA rules without official jurisdiction." The crowd began whispering louder now. One woman raised her hand timidly. "Karen, did you really issue fines to someone who's not even in the HOA?" Karen's face flushed crimson. "I was acting in the community's best interest," she shouted. "Someone has to maintain standards." The HOA president, George, finally spoke up from the back. "You overstepped your authority, Karen. This is serious. You've made the HOA look like a joke." Karen spun toward him, trembling with anger. "So you're just going to let him ruin everything we've built?" I looked around at the stunned faces and said calmly, "All I did was mow my lawn and paint my shutters. The only person ruining this neighborhood is you." The pavilion went silent. George cleared his throat. "This meeting is over. Karen, we'll discuss your actions privately." Karen glared at me like she wanted to set me on fire. As I turned to leave, I heard her hiss under her breath. "You'll regret embarrassing me." I didn't realize just how literal that threat would become. The night after the chaotic HOA meeting, I tried to convince myself it was over. Karen had been humiliated in front of everyone. Surely she'd back off now. But I underestimated her obsession with control. The next morning, when I stepped outside for work, I froze. Both of my car's front tires were completely flat. A note was tucked under my windshield wiper that read, "Maybe now you'll learn to follow the rules." My hands shook with anger. This wasn't pettiness anymore. It was vandalism. I called the police. Officer Reynolds arrived within 20 minutes, clipboard in hand. After examining the scene, he asked, "You got any idea who might have done this?" "Oh, I've got a pretty strong guess," I said, handing him the stack of photos, emails, and fake notices I'd been saving. "Her name's Karen, and she thinks she runs the neighborhood." He flipped through the papers and raised an eyebrow. "You've been keeping receipts, huh?" "Good. This looks like more than just one incident." That afternoon, I checked my new security camera footage. And there she was, 2:16 a.m., Karen creeping down the sidewalk in her pink robe and slippers, carrying something shiny in her hand. She looked around nervously before crouching near my car. The sound of air hissing followed. "Gotcha." I turned the footage over to the police. 2 days later, a patrol car pulled up across from Karen's house. I watched from my porch as the officers knocked on her door. She came out pretending to be confused. But within minutes, her smug expression cracked. They handed her a citation for vandalism and trespassing. For once, Karen had no clipboard, no sunglasses, no power. Just shock. News spread fast. The HOA president, George, personally visited me that evening. "On behalf of the entire association, I want to apologize," he said. "She's been removed from all HOA duties. Frankly, we should have stopped her sooner, but I wasn't done yet. With my lawyer friend Dave's help, I filed a civil harassment lawsuit. During the hearing, Karen tried her usual act. Tears, excuses, fake politeness. The judge wasn't buying it. "Mrs. Larkin," he said sternly, "you had no authority over this man's property and repeatedly harassed him. Your actions were deliberate and unlawful. Verdict, guilty of harassment and vandalism." She was ordered to pay me $15,000 in damages and attend community service. When I left the courthouse, I felt lighter than I had in months. Neighbors I barely knew shook my hand and thanked me for standing up to her. One even joked, "You just freed us all from the HOA queen." A month later, a moving truck pulled up to Karen's driveway. She was gone by morning. Now, every time I water my lawn, I glance at the empty house across the street and smile. Because for once, silence never sounded so sweet.